Good evening. Tonight we're going to start with our fraction unit, lesson 31. I can add mixed numbers. So we're going to be decomposing as a whole number and a fraction. And if we look over here, again, these are mixed numbers because it's a whole attached to a fraction. There's your whole and your fraction. And what we can do with this, so when we add up our mixed numbers, we take the whole and we separate it from the thirds. So right here is 2, and here's the third. And we do the same thing for the second one. Here's the whole, and then here's the fraction next to it. So then we can automatically just say, all right, I'm going to take the whole 2, the whole 1, and I'm going to add it together, and I'm going to get 3 ones, 3 whole numbers. And then I'm going to take and add the fractions. 1 plus 2 gives me 3, and we're talking about thirds, so 3 over 3, which is really 1, equals 4. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is taking apart our mixed numbers and separating the wholes from the fractions and adding it up together. And we'll also be looking at some number lines today. I know what's your favorite. Solve 2 2/5 plus 2 2/5. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to decompose this, and I'm going to pull the whole 2 out by itself, separate it from the fraction, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, pull out the whole and the fraction. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on the wholes, this whole and this whole, and add them together to get 4. And then look at the fractions, 2/5 plus 2/5, and we're going to get plus 4/5 is equal to 4 4/5. All right, and this one says solve and use a number line to show your work. All right, so we have this number sentence. We have 2 2/4 plus 1 3/4 is equal to 3 5/4. So this mixed number has a fraction that's next to it that's greater than 1. So we are going to have to be able to break that down and be able to place all this on the number line. Now if you notice, we have a whole of 2, a whole of 1, and a whole of 3. And because we have a fraction that's greater than 1, that means we have a whole in here, don't we? We got to pull another whole and then add that whole to the 3. So it looks like our number line is going to have at least 4 wholes placed on the number line, or even close to up to fifths, up to 5 wholes, I mean. And we're going to separate this number line and we're going to break it up into fourths because that's what our denominator is. So I'm going to set this number line up. All right, so here's my number line, and my number line, I'm beginning it with a 2. I don't have to start at 0 because I'm not even around that 0 mark. I'm starting with right here 2 2/4. So we need to locate 2 2/4 and show and break, and then we can show how we're going to add up to 3 5/4 on the number line. So if we look at the wholes, we have a 2 and we have a 1. I can just start at 2. We're not looking at the fraction, we're just looking at the wholes. Start at 2 and then jump to 3, because isn't that just jumping to 1 and I'm adding 1? So what we would do is we would place our 2 here and then show that it stops at 3, because this is what it's equal to, 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then we need to show the fractions. Okay, so now let's show 2/4. We go up 1, 2, here's 2/4. Then we need to go up 3/4. 1, 2, 3, and we stop right here. And this becomes 4 1/4. So 3 5/4 is equal to 4 and 1/4. Solve and use a number line to show your work. So in this problem we have 3 and 4/6 plus 2 and 5/6. And we are going to be looking at our whole numbers and being able to place that on the number line, and then we focus on our two fractions. And we need to look at the denominator right here, and it is 6, so we need to create our number line and break that number line up into 6. So let's start making that. Alright, here's my sad looking number line, but I'm just wanted to show how we can solve it just by doing a simple number line. We're going to focus right now, guys, on our holes. And we're going to start on 3. And we move up how many holes? Well, we move up 2 holes because we're adding 2. So I'm going to move up 1, 2. I moved up 2 holes. But now I want to demonstrate 4/6. So I got to move up 4/6. Because now we're looking at the fractions. 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6. Now I'm there. And now we have 5/6. So we go 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. So we're right here. So now we ended up at 6 and 3/6. So we have now can add our answer. We have 6 holes and 3/6. But just like I always tell you guys, if you see if you have your final answer as a fraction, please make sure that it is simplified. 3/6 can be simplified, and we can divide the top and the bottom by 3. And we can get 6 and a half. Solve, use the arrow way to show how to make 1. Okay, we did this in the last lesson. Remember we used number bonds and arrows ways to make our answer get to that next hole to make it 1. Well, let's use both methods. Let's practice that. So we wanted to do, we look at the holes. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 3/4 plus 3/4. All right, now what we want to do is that we want to kind of put these into a number bond here, this 3/4, and kind of break it up. But remember, like we did last time, here's our 3/4. What can I add to this to bring me to the next hole? And I know that I could just need to add 1/4 to that to get to a hole. And how much am I left with over here would be 2/4. So, and then I can figure out my answer. So what I have here is I can add up this right here, and this will bring me to 3 plus 1 plus 2/4, which is equal to 4 and 2/4. But I always tell you, make sure that your answer is simplified, simplest form, in lowest terms. 2/4 can be divided the top and the bottom by 2 to get 4 and a half. Now, if we wanted to show the arrow way, we would start with 3 and 3/4. Okay, because we added our holes and we took one of the 3/4, and we're going to add that. We're going to add plus 1/4 to that, which would give us 4. And then we need to add 2 more fourths to that, and that would become 4 and 2/4, or 4 and a half. So right here is showing you the arrow way. Solve and use the arrow way to show how to make one. All right, we can do our number bonds and our arrow ways to help us with this problem. So remember what we want to do. We want to be able to break this down and try to find that whole. So let's look at our whole numbers. We have a 2 and we have a 3. So let's add our 2 and our 3. And when we add our 2 and a 3, we are going to get 5. And then we can attach on our fractions. So we have 5 and 7/8 plus the other 4/8. All right. So now what we have to do, why did I put a 5 here? Sorry about that. This is an 8. Very messy 8. All right. So how much more do we have to add to the 7/8 in order to make a 1? Well, I could just see that all I need to do is add 1/8 to that. And so in that case, I'm going to break this guy down and pull a 1/8, and then what's left is a 3/8. So that means I can take 7/8 and 1/8 and add them together to get a whole. So I get 5 plus 1 plus 3/8 is equal to 6 and 3/8. And we cannot simplify 3/8. 3/8 is already reduced. All right. But what happens if we wanted to show the arrow method? The arrow method is going to start with 5 and 7/8, and then an arrow. And how much we're going up? Well, we're going to go up 1/8 to make that whole. So now it turns into a 6. And then we need to add on our additional fraction, which was 3/8. And then now I could say our final answer is 6 and 3/8. Be the best that you can be. You can be just like me, a destroyer of the game, video game. I'll be like the game master. You could be just like that. Or you could be a mathematician, an explorer, an organizer, a writer, or just a good old leader. That's what we more need. We need a lot of strong leaders out there. All right, so lead the way and answer the next couple of problems. Good luck. All right, thank you, my friend. Let's see, now we're going to choose any method you learned from the lesson to solve. So if you want to use number lines, number bonds, also the arrow ways, you could use that to represent 2 1/8 plus 2 and 1/8. Please make sure your answers are in reduced form, and I want to see your work tomorrow. All right, again, choose any method that you feel comfortable with in solving 2 2/5 plus 3 4/5, and I want to see your work tomorrow. Choose any method that you feel comfortable with in solving 3 4/6 plus 2 5/6, and I want to see your work tomorrow. And your last one, again, choose any method, a number bond, arrow method, the arrow way method, or a number line, whatever you feel comfortable in solving 2 3/4 plus 2 3/4. And again, I want to see your work tomorrow. Ha! This is a great one. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, that we want to see more risk takers. So take a risk. Get out of your comfort zone where you feel safe, because that's how we make strong leaders. All right, excellent job tonight, guys. Continue taking great risks, positive risks, and I can't wait to see how well you did on this assignment. Woo! This was fun. Have a good night.